Height is correlated with a lot of things. Up to a certain height, taller people make more money than the vertically challenged. And the taller presidential candidate almost always wins. Now a study finds that your height as an adult has a profound effect on your perception of your health. Short people judge their health to be worse than average or tall people judge theirs. The research was published in the journal Clinical Endocrinology. Data for the study came from the 2003 Health Survey for England. More than 14,000 participants filled out questionnaires and had their heights measured. The study only looked at how good the subject thought his or her health was, not their actual health. Questions focused on 5 areas: mobility, self-care, normal activities, pain or discomfort, and anxiety or depression. Men shorter than about 5 feet 4 inches and women shorter than 5 feet reported the worst impressions. But small increases in height at the low end had much bigger effects on perception than the same increases among taller people. Other studies have shown, ironically, that shorter people on average actually live longer.
BioBonanza is a one-day open house festival. All of the researchers in the Department of Biology are going to be showcasing their research so students can come and see research, interact with the researchers. And we want people to be able to interact and have fun of this event. As soon as you walk in the doors, you'll see all sorts of activities, displays of how a human heart works. We'll have sections of spinal cord and brain. You'll get to be able to see butterflies and all sorts of insects. You'll be able to try to catch some local insects, and we'll have activities like walking through local plant gardens and seeing how photosynthesis works.
It's basically all the same thing. A complicated plan to cut back Australia's greenhouse gases. And we are, per capita, the biggest carbon polluters on the planet. But it's not carbon trading that will make the first big cuts will come from the government's renewable energy target. Melbourne-based analyst Carbon Market Economics says the government's 20% target will not only cut pollution, it'll help the economy as well.
They may be our cousins, but orangutans and other primates are nowhere near humans in terms of technological achievement, social organization, or culture. As humans, capacity for building off one another, an integral part of our so-called cumulative culture that has allowed us to build up so much in so little time. But how do we develop such advanced methods of learning in the first place? Kevin Leland of the Ige University of Standrews spoke with me about his team's quest to pinpoint the social and cognitive process that underlie humans' ability to acquire and transmit knowledge. There have been various definitions of happiness throughout history and the history of philosophy. The ones which interest me are approaches to happiness that follow the Enlightenment, particularly in the work of Jeremy Bentham, for whom happiness was really a combination of physical feelings, pleasures as different combinations and aggregations of pleasure and pain occur over time. They generate these psychological experiences that Bentham called happiness, but underlying them for Bentham were physical triggers and dimensions.
We're going to have a short written assessment, which will happen every fortnight. You will be taken up into small groups, so feel free to ask any questions as I go along. And we'll also ask you to participate. So if you'd all like to open your books to page 1. Dramatic changes in human life support systems took place in the modern world over the last 500 years. Human communities during this time period reached unprecedented sizes and growth rates. Global migrations introduced exotic plants, animals, developments, technologies, and cultural beliefs throughout the world. The Industrial Revolution and its aftermath transformed economies on an unparalleled scale and intensity. Urban spaces exploded in number and size during the period, and large-scale social systems emerged that were tied together by networks of economic exchange, transport, and communication.
The world has changed. The economics of the world have changed, and the art market has come in behind that. Absolutely. And it is part of the reason why Christie's left Australia and no longer has an office here. And Sotheby's, it's basically a branch or a foundation, for want of a better word, of Sotheby's International. So neither auction firm has a really permanent international existence in Australia, because they are focusing their attention on the places they can make money, which is the Middle East, India, and Asia.
What we are gonna find out today is how it's a bit more complicated than that, which it always is. I think it's really wonderful. I mean, not being an experimental scientist myself, I have a kind of envy at the way in which science can continue to surprise us by this. People working away in labs, moving on our understanding in ways. Hugo is a cognitive scientist at the French National Center for Scientific Research. Hugo Mercier.
A listener in Poland recently sent us an email. Sla Globoda writes, "There are many American universities and colleges that provide long-distance education to the world. The trouble is that each university says that it is the best. After an hour of searching and reading what they have in their offer, one gets a headache. You simply don't know whom to trust and what to choose." Sla goes on to say, "I have been listening to VOA for years, and I would trust you if you made an interesting program about American universities for foreigners. Is there a university that you could recommend?"
Later this week, Americans will celebrate the nation's Independence Day. On July 4, 1776, colonial leaders approved the final Declaration of Independence for the United States. This year, the city of New York will also celebrate the opening of part of an important symbol of America that has been closed to the public for the past 8 years. The Statue of Liberty has stood in New York Harbor for more than 100 years. It was a gift from the people of France in 1884. Its full name is Liberty Enlightening the World. The Statue of Liberty is 46 meters tall from its base. It is made mostly of copper. Throughout history, images of liberty have been represented as a woman. The statue is sometimes called Lady Liberty.
What can you do with earthworms? Some people use the creepy crawlers to catch fish, but others put worms to work making compost. Compost looks and feels like good soil. Gardeners and farmers add it to soil to make plants grow better. You can make compost from food waste at home with or without the help of worms. How the worms help is by first eating and processing the food. It comes out the other end of the worm as rich compost. Kim Gable from the University of Florida Extension Service in Key West suggests using red worms known as red wigglers.
For some people, this proposition may seem far-fetched, but ending poverty is both morally necessary and actually feasible. All of us must play a role in making it happen. All human beings want, and have a right to live in dignity, to determine our own destinies, and to be respected by other people. Despite the universality of these rights, our capacities to fulfill them vary enormously, and no dividing line is more profound in influencing the quality of our lives than the gulf between poverty and prose and prosperity.
What happened was the whole Gulf of Alaska and Prince William Sound just sort of tilted, and so near shore, near Alaska, that region sank. And then out at sea, the seafloor raised up. Susie Basham, a molecular biologist at the University of Oregon. And so things that were submarine platforms before suddenly were lifted above sea level. And then Silt could come in and build more island. And with more island came new freshwater ponds. Those newly created bodies of water turned out to be the testbed for a natural evolutionary experiment on a finger-sized fish called the three-spined stickleback. Saltwater fish went in, freshwater fish came out. Big silvery well-armored fish entered freshwater ponds, and during the last 50 years they changed their size, their coloration, they changed the size of their eyes, the length of their spines, many aspects of their skeletons, feeding structures, swimming structures, and became more stereotypical freshwater fish. But how? Basham and her colleagues ran statistical analyses on the genomes and body measurements of fish living in those freshwater ponds today. And they found that the saltwater versions of the fish may have actually colonized those freshwater ponds on the study islands at least 6 times in the last 50 years. They were able to move in and rapidly adapt because the sea-dwelling fish have a sort of sleeper genome of freshwater traits, just waiting to be activated. These are anadromous fish that have been invading freshwater ecosystems over and over and over. And all those freshwater adaptations have trickled back into the sea, allowing the oceanic population, which is believed to be the ancestor of all the freshwater populations, to maintain this huge resource of differently, alternately adapted genotypes that are just waiting to get back into a freshwater system.
Like, share and subscribe the channel for upcoming videos and also press the bell icon for notifications.